Hello everyone, I'm LeoKRogue, and this is a little bit of a sneak peek of my Assassin's Creed Syndicate no upgrades run. In the late part of the game, in order to unlock Sequence 8, you have to clear 3 total districts. One of these districts is cleared as part of the main story. In the beginning, it's Whitechapel is the tutorial borough. But the other 2 you kind of have to go out and seek out on your own, and unless you clear them and unless you liberate them, you do not unlock Sequence 8, which is very frustrating and a part of the game that I consider to be very poor, but we do have to do it. And since this is a bit of a shorter version, a tinier video, contrasted against my main no upgrades run, I figured I could release this first. So as you saw there, we completely disregarded the full sync requirements, and we're going to be doing that for a lot of these little missions here, a lot of these little activities, because our goal is to clear it without, dying, and also to just get it done as fast as we can. So full syncs do not help us. I missed the headshot here, so I get detected, and, I neglect to notice the guard to my right, but happily a rook existed nearby, and they actually shot him for me, which is very helpful. It's one of the only times rooks actually assist the player is on a no upgrades run, because with any other kind of playthrough, your statistics are so good that you will just outclass your gang members in every way. But here, that's not the case, so several times throughout this video, and several times throughout the no upgrades run in general, you might see rooks actually being useful. I know, it's a bit of a shocker, but yeah, it's a thing and it's quite nice. So I know that my rook will kill that guy without me finishing him off, so I just put him into near death state and then run away, because again, our main concern is time, and finishing these as quickly as possible. This activity is a kidnap, which I believe is the worst activity type in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. A second ago you saw me smoke onto myself because people were looking at me. I didn't want their detection meter to cap out, so I just smoked onto the ground to shroud myself, and then I will air assassinate this person from my, my zipline. I use the hallucinogenic dart to stop that blighter from moving, and this is kind of a trick that you can do in a lot of the Assassin's Creed games if you want to get, a guaranteed headshot or stuff like that. If the opponent is a low enough level, you can just go ahead and stun them with a berserk blade, a berserk dart, a hallucinogenic dart. They all have different names, but they're the same item every time. Right here, our goal is to kidnap this person. We will kidnap some of them if they're easy to do so to, but we're not actually going to kidnap every kidnap target, because the mission conditions do clear even if you kill them and deliver their corpse to the police. You do not full sync it and you get significantly less money, but it is a viable method to finish this mission type. And thank goodness for it, because if we had to play it the right way on no upgrades, it would be a nightmare.
Mr. Bacchus. You stole a couple of diamonds. You'll make out all right.
Something's happening.
I'd rather not hurt you. Don't think I won't.
One thing about living kidnap targets is that whenever you do shove them into a carriage, the game is pretty much hard programmed to get you detected, even if no enemies actually exist nearby. Like, sometimes it will just spawn blighters from off screen. It's just to try to make the game more exciting, but I think this is really bad, and it kind of just, I don't know, it's something that I don't appreciate. It punishes the player even when they're playing well. And it also just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Anyway, these guys are getting in my way. Very, very frustrating. Trying to just make my way around. But somehow I managed to get into the objective marker and finish the memory. So this is a gang stronghold. This is the best activity type in Assassin's Creed Syndicate as far as borough liberation goes, because the only objective here is to kill everyone, which is, it's very classic, it's very traditional. It can be very enjoyable to do, whether you're playing on no upgrades or whether you're playing with upgrades. It kind of doesn't matter. For the most part, you don't need to be concerned with anything except killing everyone, which is, you know, very handy. I'm not sure what kind of animation that guy did. Jacob just decided to be a Jedi for a second. That's okay. It happens. Assassin's Creed writers frantically scrambling around. A piece of Eden did it. It's Animus stuff. You know how it goes. We've got pretty good flow through this area, but unfortunately the last guy did see me, so we're going to have to brawl him. I'm going to quickly explain how combat works in this game, and the idea is that every time you see the assassin do an animation on the enemy that knocks them away, you want to immediately start mashing your counter button. I swear to God, just mash the hell out of it. What this will do is, if the enemy is doing a retaliation attack, you will automatically parry it, but if the enemy does not do a retaliation attack, you do not lose your combo. So there is literally no reason not to do this. You're keeping yourself safe, and if you guess wrong, you're not losing anything. So it's not even a mind game, it's not even a mix-up, it's just safe. This is something that the YouTuber FebUSAlf taught me. Maybe I will link his AC Syndicate combat tips video in the description, because until this moment I really thought that Syndicate was completely random and that enemies would sometimes just hit you randomly for no reason. And that's not the case. It's just that on a knockaway they have a % chance to do an attack which, if you do not preemptively counter it, you cannot counter it. There is nothing you can do. The game never explains this, it never makes it clear. I'm not even sure how a player is supposed to learn this. But thank goodness for Feb, because he taught us all. There's one last blighter to kill in here, and that's pretty much what we're gonna go ahead and do now. Bam, bam, done. I think the next thing we gotta do is another kidnap, and this one is probably the sloppiest in all of Lambeth for me. I just really get unlucky here, and I end up fighting for a very long time, which is the last thing you want to do on a playthrough like this. You do not want to be in combat, because Assassin's Creed Syndicate is the first AC game to not introduce stats, but to base the gameplay on top of stats. And so you can see, you know, if you don't have a good weapon, there's just not much you can do. It gets very, very slow, very, very exhausting. It gets very arduous, and it's not actually very enjoyable. It doesn't lead to good gameplay. Essentially, the game is forcing you to partake of its progression system if you want to fight, which I guess makes sense, but also Assassin's Creed was never an RPG, and the game does not gain any kind of quality, it does not gain any kind of benefit or any kind of advantage for changing its design to, you know, to work this way. You can see what I'm talking about in action right here. This fight is just incredibly long. Not only that, you know, every hit I take is very, very punishing and very damaging to me. I'm trying not to use my medicine because I actually cannot buy any. Without getting upgrades, you are not permitted to re-buy medicine from shops. You can only loot it from enemies. So that's why, even though I'm like super close to death, I'm trying not to heal. I heal there because, you know, I feel like if I took another gunshot or anything like that, I would just be completely wiped out. I get really lucky amid all this misfortune. This woman, our target, just runs right in front of my face, and I just like slam her into the ground. So I'm sorry, miss. You don't get to struggle out of your way this time. You're coming with me. I tried to shove her into this carriage, but it was actually moving, so I couldn't do that. Very unfortunate. And now we're just gonna have to run around forever until we find another carriage that we can push her into. Gonna restrain her again. If you're playing with upgrades, there is a skill you can get called Intimidation, and what it does is whenever you've kidnapped a guard or any kind of person in the game world, they can never struggle. Like, they will straight up just never attempt to escape, which means you don't need to hit the legs button prompt in order to restrain them, and that's very good because hitting a restrain prompt successfully widens your blend circle. So if you're walking near guards when you have to restrain someone, they kind of notice the commotion and then they detect you. And of course, if you're detected, then the target just escapes your grasp anyway. So we're going to jump into this haystack completely by accident. We didn't actually mean to do this, but the game read my parkour down input as like, oh, he must want to jump into this haystack. So we're just going to have to improvise from here. And the first thing I'm going to do is whistle to attract these two people over. As this lady gets near, I'll smoke and then stab her at the same time. The second person will see me. I'll pull him over here right to the corner and then just start brawling him next to the haystack. I'll finish him off with a knife because I don't want the fight to go on forever, and I'll headshot the first target. Now I'm going to look around for the second target. And I deliberate whether to headshot that guy, but I'll leave him alone because it's not necessary. I do something kind of cool here. The hay, the top of the haystack, is actually not a solid object, which means you can fire projectiles through it. So we throw the knife through the hay, it beans that lady in the face, and she dies. So right here, this gunner that just did the Michael Jackson lean, we're gonna go ahead, shoot a hallucinogenic dart at her. This resets her detection state to, unaware, and then we can assassinate her and leave. This warning that the target is about to execute a civilian, you might be wondering, that doesn't make sense. Both targets are dead. It's because it's actually just on a timer, I think. So we've got another Templar hunt targets to kill. This one's actually kind of fun. It's quite claustrophobic. It's clustered up. It's very agglomerated, and everyone is kind of super crowded, super close together. So as you can see, we got 5 knives. No reason not to go for the headshot. No reason not to go for the air assassinate, because even if we get detected, we can just leave. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to leave, and in fact, I don't think they... Nope, they do. They definitely do. They detect the heck out of us. But it doesn't matter because we've killed everyone already. Or everyone we need to kill, I should say. And that's that, really. Like, this is the mindset. On no upgrades, you don't care about anything except just knocking out the objective as quickly as humanly possible, because this content is not interesting, it's not invigorating, it's not inspired in any way. There is way too much of it, and there's just no reason to waste your own time, basically. Just go in, do what you gotta do, get out, move on to the next one, so that you can get back to playing the actual game. The main story. And this kind of staggered approach to unlocking the story, to allowing you to play the game that you purchased with your own money, this is something that Ubisoft will continue to do, to a lesser extent in Origins, but to a massive extent in Odyssey. Ow. So part of the reason I berserked that thug there, the brute, is because one, he is my target, and at the end of a berserk state he will just burn out and die, so that helps me. But also there were more enemies around him, and berserking him ensures that he actually helps me fight them, whether he wants to or not. Police officers in Syndicate have a lot of HP, but my rook just slapped him with that machete, and he just got ruined, so that was very nice. Once again, the rook's being helpful. On a run with upgrades, just wouldn't be the case because you would obliterate everything. So right here, what I'm trying to do is chuck this guy down, down this elevation so I can keep going, but then I remembered that AC Syndicate does not permit the player to throw kidnap targets whether they're dead or alive. And the reason for that is because, let's say you throw them into water or something, then you wouldn't be able to continue the mission and the game would soft lock. So to prevent that from happening, Quebec just doesn't allow you to do a throw action on a carried kidnap target. So I just kind of had to walk on low ground like a normal person. right here I do something cheeky. These guys are looking at me. They've detected me. And I dodged the gunshot by like hiding behind this pole, and that also triggers the objective to finish. Kind of funny. Made me laugh. Got a new gang stronghold coming up. Once again, I love these. I love this kind of mission type. It's just fun to run around and stealth kill everyone as fast as possible. But if I remember correctly, I actually messed this one up a little bit. And I left more mistakes in this playthrough than I did in my Unity no upgrades run. Because Syndicate is a much more janky and inconsistent game when you're playing it on no upgrades. And I want to also show people how to adapt out of these errors, because I consider myself pretty skilled at Assassin's Creed, and if I can make these mistakes, then a lot of players can make these mistakes. I'm gonna try to hallucinate that, that boss, that target, the leader, and I do. So they're gonna fight, they're gonna kill some folks, and then they're gonna burn out. Once again, brutes have just 1 billion HP. I was anticipating a retaliation, but it didn't hit, so I kept going. There it was, we got it that time, and we just like punch him off the rooftop. This person that's running away actually trolls me. Are you ready for this? See, you almost got him? Bam, goes into the door. I'm like, damn, I can't go in there. The hell? But worry not, buddy. We can climb buildings. We're gonna chase you up to this rooftop. Tackle you. Well, you can tell I was really angry here. Just beating the shit out of this guy. I was like, how dare you waste my time like that? What a tricky lad. Just stab this guy, and I think that's it for this location. Yep, we're done. Moving on, we got a child liberation. So these aren't like my favorite, but they're pretty freaking good. I really like the child liberation missions as a rule because they have stealth that you can do, you know, Reaper style. You can go around and kill everyone. But since the objective isn't actually to kill most of the people here, these locations are also ghostable, and that's why I like them. I don't like them because you can Reaper or because you can ghost them. I like them because you can do both, and it lets you pick. And I think that's very important, letting the player have that kind of agency. So on no upgrades, of course, every detect is worse if, well, every detect is worse in general, but every detect is worse the more guards are left alive for the alerted guard to pull toward us. That's why, even though you can ghost these on no upgrades, we are not going to be doing so. We are going to eviscerate everybody as much as we can, unless we really don't need to, or they're far away, or they're completely irrelevant. See, that was a retaliation. I missed it, and she slapped me. She didn't have her weapon out yet, I think. That's why it didn't do much damage, but if she did, that would have hurt pretty bad. I knifed that wall to make that guy look at it. Knives are a very consistent distraction item in Syndicate if you fire them into walls. Less so if you fire them into floors. Or fire, excuse me, throw. They're a projectile, so... I'm used to thinking in Unity terms because Syndicate is basically Unity 1.5. So we are going to knife that gentleman, and then we're going to air assassinate this person. Bam, bam. That should be every relevant enemy in this warehouse. So we're going to grab the rest of these children, free them, send them home, and that's it. This unlocks the gang war for this district, and we gotta kill Cletus Strain. Earlier I cut out some footage of me chasing him and missing him, which is something you do not want to do on no upgrades, because then you actually have to fight the boss. Thankfully, this is a very low-level district, so you will see that even though he still kind of almost, you know, works me over, because I'm playing on default gear and everything, it is possible for the lower-level districts to defeat the gang war and to kill the boss as well, even if you didn't assassinate him on the road. Got a multi-kill here. These are always a bit flashy, but it put us into the wall. I'm gonna skip this cutscene because this guy's irrelevant and he'll be dead soon anyway. A bit cold-hearted, but like, you know, gotta keep it real. He's guarding, we don't want that to happen. He smoke bombed. When an enemy gang leader smoke bombs, what this does is it removes counter indicators. And he actually almost killed me there. And he actually almost killed me again because I was being a little bit too aggressive and I was hitting his guard with light attacks, which you don't want to do. Break his guard. Prevent him from hitting us. See, like, he just has a bunch of HP and we gotta be super careful. We're playing very conservatively. We're playing in a very lame and boring capacity. Like, this actually isn't very entertaining, but that's what happens when you base your game on statistics. The next borough we want to clear is City of London, and what we're gonna do here is free a bunch of these children from this factory. As I said before, this kind of mission is not the worst and it's not the best. It's kind of just in the middle. I like the degree of choice it gives. It's kind of fun to, you know, go through with varying styles. But because this is no upgrades, I'm going to be killing as many of these guys as I can. Because if they do detect me, the fewer of them remain, the easier it will be for me. So that's obviously very helpful. We do have to kill the foreman, but we're going to get to him later. Here I'm going to use a visual lure to pull this gunner out of position and kind of just walk up behind her and take her down. It's a pretty standard move that you're going to see me do in a lot of content, and it works, and that's why it's done so much, because it's just that effective. Here I try to hide from this brute, but I'm a bit too late, so he does see me, and because he's level 6 and I'm level 1 and I have level 1 weapons and armor, I'm just doing like chip damage to him the entire time. So this is why you kind of don't want to fight people if you're not taking any upgrades, if you're just playing as a base default character. But using the rules I taught you before, we can just annihilate him eventually. From here we get a perfect stealth situation pretty much. We're perched above 4 people, we can chuck a smoke bomb down on all of them and then just like wipe everybody out really quickly. Nobody can see this coming, and as long as the smoke cloud remains in play, they also can't, you know, shake off their stun. So this is really easy, and this tactic is why AC Syndicate only gives you 2 smoke bombs starting out instead of like the 5 that Unity gives you, because combining that with your ability to whistle, it would just be a bit too strong. So after we free these 3, we've only got 3 left, and we gotta kill the foreman at the top. We're gonna find him, we're gonna take him down, and we're gonna free the last ones, and that's gonna be it for this location. As you can see, when these go well, they go really well, and when they go poorly, just like anything else, they're just kind of annoying. But this time, it went okay. This guy started looking at me for a moment, and I know that he's gonna walk over to me, so I can just comfortably stay here, wait for him to come, and just wipe him out. After this, the only thing left is to tick these 3, and then that's it. Pretty easy, pretty smooth. This next bit is another Templar hunt, and I actually do some tricky stuff here that I kind of want to talk about, and you'll see it happen in a minute. But this one kind of differentiates itself from the others because the 2 targets are both indoors, which is kind of a pain in the ass, usually. Generally speaking, an assassin wants to remove people from the outside, but here we do have to go indoors, and that can be kind of tricky to deal with since whenever you're indoors there are less places to hide, which I know sounds weird, but that's kind of how it works. We can whistle to pull this guy toward us, take him out, rope launch right up to the roof, and from here we're gonna scout the rest of these guys and kind of look for an entrance. After air assassinating this gunner, this platform kind of becomes the place we launch our stuff from. So I'm gonna pull this guy out the window, whistle to lure some other guards over. And one trait of smoke bombs in this game is that they actually go through walls. They're not supposed to. It's a programming oversight, but they do. So we smoke these people through the wall, kind of get in and just shank everybody.
What's making that noise?
I don't like the sound of that.
And that's that. With everybody gone, we can just leave. Coming up is another gang stronghold, and like I said before, I really like these. They're super fast, super easy. Starting out, we are going to smoke onto the brute and the normal down there, take them both out, immediately rope launch back up to the roof. I was hoping I'd get a smoke bomb from that guy, but I didn't. Anyway, we're gonna side hop onto here. Over this way, there's a nice cluster that we can take out. It's gonna be very satisfying. I pretty much just spit metal at this brute leader. And one thing about these gang strongholds is that if you take out one of the leaders, the kind of lower ranking guards around them become broken, which means they just run away, and the game counts as if you've killed them, even if you haven't. Because, you know, they flee the area, so they're not in play anymore. Last one's getting taken out right here, and that's it for this place. Here's another child liberation. I think this one doesn't go as well as the last one. I kind of get shot in the face in a really stupid way, but we deal with it, we adapt out of it, and we just keep moving. Starting out, it's gonna go pretty smooth, just as fine as the other one did. I know that someone's looking at me, so I decide to kind of, you know, try to hide a little bit. And for a moment I consider, you know, pulling her toward me, but she is a gunner, like a full-on gunner, and they do not move from their positions. They're completely static. So if they're already holding a point, I mean. Pretty smooth flow throughout all of these guys. Over here we got kind of an interesting situation. There are 3 guards, and this animation is slow enough that I pretty much have to hide here immediately after. And they notice the body, they're gonna come investigate, but happily the brute in the rear splits himself off from the foreman, and I'm able to just pick them off one by one, which is very lucky. And that's pretty much it. That is the only significant kill objective in this area. Everyone else we take out is just for comfort. Just gotta free the rest of these kids and we're out of here. take her out just to make some space, make it easier to move around.
Keep your voice down.
So right here is when I make kind of a big mistake. I should be using this first visual lure to bring this person over, and right here I have an opportunity to quickly come out of cover and stab her, but instead I decide to whistle, which is bad because now both of them are looking at me. And now that both of them are looking at me, you know, they're no longer isolated. Everything I do, they're both gonna come look at, and that's just not very good. So usually you make mistakes because you rush, but this time I made a mistake because I hesitated. Still, since there's only one left, I should be able to just brawl it out. And I hit her with a Berserk Dart so that it removes her awareness. She like loses sight of me for a moment, and that lets you get a stealth kill even though you're actually in combat. This place is actually pretty easy, but I got a pretty hilarious glitch on it, which you won't see here because I edited it out. But I tried to do a leap of faith into a haystack, and Jacob just had other ideas, and he flung himself onto the concrete. Bad feeling. Just gonna move around. I know that if I take this guy out, no one will see me, so it's fine. Still no one's looking at me, which makes this one ripe for the picking. Bam. And since this is an extremely easy full sync to grab, we are actually going to snag this one. And we even got our smoke bomb back, so all in all that went about as well as it could have, which is quite nice, because some of these can be, you know, not so much difficult as just aggravating. Like this one. So the problem with this area is that it's just so spread out. It's really wide. People are everywhere. And I'm trying to trigger a double assassinate here. I'm pretty sure I can take out this gunner and then immediately zip back up. I toss a knife at the ground behind this guy to make him look there. And that lets me go this way and remove this brute. After I do that, the witness here, the lookout, he'll start fighting me, but these guys' health bars are actually very low. So even if you have to fight them, it's not actually a problem. That guy I distracted earlier, he's still walking around, so I just throw 3 knives at him, one after the other, and that deletes him. We're gonna do another berserk trick here. I know this guy's staring at me, so slap him with a dart, run at him, bam, turn the corner, zip up, easy. A bunch of these guys are clustered up, and once again we're going to use what we know about leaders, which is if you do kill one, all of their subordinates kind of become broken and run away. See, just like that. We're still going to grab some kills on them in case they have items in their pockets that we can auto-loot. And all that's left is this guy, who we'll take out with a quick little air assassinate. And that's it for this place. Over here we've got another single assassination. And by now you kind of know the drill with how these work on no upgrades. We don't concern ourselves with any optional challenge, we don't concern ourselves with any extra objective, we just find where the guy is, throw a knife into his face, and leave. We just want to get it done as fast as possible, because there are too many of these and we want to move on to the next ones, since they are all filler anyway. And this time, I didn't even need to use a knife, so that's kind of nice. Saves me from having to go shopping later. I'll pop this chest because it's here, and we will be on our merry way. Got another gang stronghold. We have to kill 8 people here. I think at this point I do something kind of wonky, kind of foolish. And it definitely bites me. Yeah, this is where it is. Okay, so all of these guys are clustered up and I think I'm really slick, right? So I chuck smoke at all of them. I take out these 2. And then because these 2 policemen come in, I'm like, oh, I'll start taking them out too. And I get the first one, but the second one sees me. So cops and Syndicate have like 10 billion HP no matter what level they are, so that's kind of aggravating. And they also do this thing where they love to counter you if you are too aggressive with them. And they can really just like destroy your health bar in a second if you're not careful. So although I look really calm here, I'm actually freaking terrified fighting this guy, which is why I'm very happy that we managed to destroy him. While I'm looting his body, a high-ranking blighter comes up to me, and if you get a wall reaction, like if your character hits the enemy into a wall, it kind of prevents their retaliation attack, which is really, really nice. You want to get those wall hits whenever you can, which is why I'm trying to like hit him closer to the wall, but Jacob is just not vibing with it. So he doesn't do the animations necessary to push him there, because it is all random. So kind of unfortunate, but you know, at the most we just lose a few seconds. It's not such a big deal. Right here I'm gonna end up fighting this guy again because frankly I'm just impatient, and you can see it. And I also just wanted to conserve that smoke bomb. I get countered like twice, which is super embarrassing. There's that wall reaction I was talking about. If you throw him into an object, then you can often bypass a retaliation attack and get an extra free combo before he decides to attack you back. So that's nice. Just gonna pat this guy's face a bunch until an item pops out, because that's what the animation decided to do. Oh, Yubi, never change. Alright. Last one. We don't even need to do anything fancy with this guy. We're just gonna run up behind him, slide, and stab him in the chest. Done. At this point, Bloody Nora appears. She's the City of London gang leader, and we do actually have an opportunity to kill her right here. She gets stunned by my smoke. For some reason she wasn't in combat state, so just get to stab her, and we move on. At the beginning of this factory mission, a bunch of rooks, policemen, and blighters are all fighting each other for one reason or another. I don't even know why, what triggered this. It was just, it happened, and naturally I'm gonna take advantage of the confusion as best I can. I'm gonna whistle to pull this guy over here. Decide to climb on top of these barrels. because I thought it would be quicker. Not sure exactly who's looking at me, but I know that somebody is. I think it's the gunner on top of here, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I make a bit of a silly error where I literally just climb up right in front of her face, and she shoots me. I'm lucky she didn't instant kill me, because she could have. I drop down. I should be healing. I don't know why I'm not. Am I just this confident that I can take her out without using a medicine? Well, she does hit me. I don't die, which is very lucky. Parry the retaliate. And we're done. Okay, so I'm not sure if not using medicine was the right call there, but it worked out for me. And now I will just auto heal if I stay out of combat long enough. There we go. So I got lucky with this guy too. He ran right over to me. It's kind of like fishing, just, you know, not with fish, but with enemy guards that are very stupid. Feels awesome. I'm kind of just letting this foreman eyeball me a little bit. He's like, "You what, mate? Like, what was that?" He's like, "I thought I saw a distraction over there."
Dead, is it?
This foreman's not very smart. He doesn't know that you're not supposed to go toward the monster. He's like, what's that creepy thing whistling at me from around the corner? He just went right for it.
Keep quiet. I'm here to help.
Thank you, sir.
Completely randomly, as I entered this area, that target just immediately started running away, which is very weird, but it's something that Syndicate just does sometimes. So with that in mind, I'll air assassinate this person in order to get down, and I'll try to run at this guy and take him out before he can get too far. From here, I'm gonna get shot, heal immediately, and I should be rope launching up to the top of this roof, because I have no reason to fight those people. They can't do anything to, you know, reduce my efficacy if I just run away. So all that matters is that they forget about me, they go home, and I can pick up the corpse of that criminal, that target, and we can deliver him to Aberline. Gonna hide this body. I'm not sure exactly what happened to make that police officer spawn on top of that cart. Maybe he jumped to it, but it really looked like he just appeared suddenly. I'm gonna chill right here. See what's going on. Go ahead and stab this guy. And of course, it's gonna spawn some blighters to try to mess with me. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna head to the objective and get it done. Kidnaps are very boring mission types. They're just... generally, they're just kind of dull, and they're going to play out the exact same way every single time, without much difference in variation, caused by either level design or by, you know, different approaches you can take, because there's really not that much different you can do. Anyway, we're here. I'm gonna take this guy out of the cart, and Jacob kind of just like yeets him onto the ground here automatically. It's kind of funny. Anyway, we've got another kidnap. This one should go a little bit smoother, if I remember correctly. So we're gonna open by assassinating this blighter, pulling her into this haystack, scouting, there's our target. Since there's no one around them, I'm just gonna run in. Bam.
Oh, don't hurt me, please. I'm just a simple woman.
And I think we should be pretty good here.
Not another word.
Please, sir. I'm just trying to get by. Living's hard these days.
I'd rather not.
I'll restrain her
Don't think I
here,
won't.
like away from the cop, and then just like carefully walk past.
I'm just a simple woman. Let me go.
Not another word. I don't require a reason to end your life.
Oh! Don't hurt me, please. I'm just a simple woman. Let me go.
Not another word. Not
Please,
a
sir.
peep from you.
I'm just trying to get by. Living's hard these days.
You can explain yourself to the police. You.
Oh, so you're not the police then? You've got no right to treat me this way.
Just keep quiet.
Oh! Don't hurt me, please. Help me! I'm being taken.
So all in all, that was probably the smoothest kidnap I'd done so far.
Let's go.
And that's that. Once again here, another kidnap target just decides to run for it as soon as I enter the area for no reason. But happily, he runs right at me, which is very lucky.
Hey! Who are you? Get off me!
Quiet now. Don't want to disturb the prayers.
All we did was steal a bit of metal.
Out of every church in the district.
Marty doesn't like the sound. Brings him back when we were little. Hey! Help! Brother! Help me! Let me out!
That one went pretty smooth as well.
Let me go!
I think they started looking at me, but they didn't actually detect me. Very, very fortunate indeed. That almost never happens. And that's it. And this unlocks the gang war, which is just going to be a straight up brawl. I think to begin this, I'm going to walk away from the proceedings, smoke onto myself, and then just start like spamming projectiles to deplete as many health bars as I can. This is actually suboptimal. You can do this more efficiently by manual aiming and clicking on their heads, but I was just not thinking properly, so I just started hitting them with the easiest method I could think of, rather than the most efficient. From here, it's just trying to not take too much damage and trying to deal as much damage to them as I can. You don't have to kill everyone on screen, you just have to kill the requisite number of enemies. So we've already taken out 7 of them total, we just need 2 more. Gonna get the retaliate, good stuff. And that should be it. Once I take this guy out right here, there you go. They'll all disappear now because the Animus deloads them, but that is it. With that, we have unlocked Sequence 8, and what that means is I will see you guys in the actual full no upgrades playthrough. I hope you all look forward to it, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.